But is it all it's cracked up to be? And are those bargains actually bargains? Because, of course, there's been a lot of reports over the last few days to say that actually they might have lovely, great, big, beautiful, shiny sales stickers on them, but that doesn't actually mean they're any cheaper. Well, Kate Hardcastle is a retail expert and joins me live in the studio. Evening to you, Kate.
Hi, good evening.
Is Black Friday all a big con? Is it just a way of supermarkets and big department stores and the like, and online retailers putting lovely, great big sale banners on there and shiny stickers telling us that we've got all this money off, when in actual fact, they're pretty much the same price as they were before?
Look, it's a promotional period, and we know that retailers need those promo periods from time to time to try and excite us and get us back into store. I don't think there's ever been a more challenging decade for retailers, because it's just changed. It's changed because of online shopping, because we're buying more experiences and less goods, because we're savvier as customers, and so that's how they see their fight back. Yet you and I both know that actually to just discount and use that as your main function of fight back, it's probably not the most logical long term.
But there was a report out, I think it was Which this week, saying that actually many of the products that are marked as discounted aren't any cheaper than they would be during a normal retail period. So is there a moral argument to say, now, of course, buyer beware, everyone should check, and, you know, if something's too good to be true, it probably is. Yeah. But is it perhaps a little bit immoral that some of these retailers are telling the public that things are a bargain when in actual fact they're maybe not?
I think the concept of Black Friday, which has come as this kind of post-Thanksgiving sales period, and none of us really is still across that, because people thought Black Friday started last week, which just shows that it's not linked to anything we celebrate. But this big promo period, no retailer's out there saying this is the cheapest you'll find this product, and therefore they're just trying to use the excitement, the thrill and the proximity to Christmas, which is a reason why it's been successful, to try and sell to us. I think if you look into the price tracker sites, you can see quite clearly that most products you're buying probably have been cheaper at other times of the year.
I think that just to jump in, Which did some research on this, and they found that just 1 in 20 Black Friday deals are actually cheaper than they would be at other times of the year. So what's the point in it? It is just, as you say, just fluff, just guff, just a promotional device rather than genuine bargains that can be found.
It's because we as consumers react to it, and if we react to it, then the retailers will use it.
And you are right, by the way. I've been scanning all sorts, going, oh my God, amazing. You know, I've been wanting to buy myself fitness equipment that will stay unused. I've been wanting to buy myself, you know, beautiful new accessories for my house, which probably are more expensive than they were 6 months ago. So we do have that desire for a bargain.
We do, yeah. It's the hunter-gatherer in us. And it makes sense. We want the best for us and our family, and therefore we become attuned to seeing these discounts and trying to get the hunt. And then really strange thing happens, because actually if we don't get, so if they limit an item and only make so many available and we lose out on that particular bargain, we're even more driven to find ourselves a bargain that day. It's very emotional selling and emotional buying. And if we want to give the best tips to people out there who are perhaps those who might think about buying the exercise equipment they don't need at this time of year, you know, if you don't need it and if you can't afford it, it's never going to be a bargain anyway. Debt is incredibly high in terms of Christmas and our expenditure, and January leaves most of us quite miserable with that. So that's such a good adage, by the way, that if you know, no bargain is a bargain if you don't actually need the thing in the first place. No, and this is the thing, we pile this pressure on ourselves, try to outdo, trying to brag on social, trying to make ourselves feel good. It's also a time of year where we reach the end of the year and all of a sudden all these things that we care about, the diet, the exercise, the regimes that we've got, suddenly go out the window. People go on economy drive for 10 months of the year, and then for the last 2 months we'll just enjoy everything in excess and really resent themselves when it gets to January. So it's about obviously doing everything in moderation and trying to make sure we're doing everything within budget, which is hard when retailers are breathing down our necks. So it's about how do you disconnect from those retailers to edge out the messaging.
So if the bargains aren't really bargains, right, or in many of the cases, not in all, in fairness, but in many of the cases, there are some to be had, what is the point of it, especially when you consider this in the context of what we've been discussing this hour, the environmental impact of something like Black Friday? Because if we're buying stuff that's been produced that we don't need and we're not even getting it cheaper, then surely we're making a big environmental impact from things like Black Friday, and it's all pointless.
We're making a huge impact. I started working in sourcing in factories in China and India, nearly 20 years ago now. And I used to stand looking at these warehouses full of stuff we didn't actually need. Now, there is a consumer in us, and we like to satisfy our emotional habits by buying stuff to make ourselves feel good. But actually, that materialism is on the wane as we buy more experiences. So we prefer going out now than perhaps just buying a carriage clock for the front room.
Or perhaps, and I really bang on about this on any show that I present here on Talk Radio, that I'm very much a fan of buying perhaps a little more expensively, perhaps buying a little rarer. Don't spend so often, but spend more, and spend on quality.
We say buy cheap, buy twice. That's
that is so true.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, if you buy cheap, for instance, with a flight you might take, my God, do you pay? I mean, you might not pay in money, but you'll pay in
your legs
stress,
are paying, right?
Hassle. The gate will be 17 miles from where you checked in.
The airport will be 17 miles from where you want to be.
Yes, it's so true. And so do you think that maybe, again, this is where government should come in? Government should step in and say, look, you can't keep having these, ridiculous promotions that actually are promoting nothing. You can't keep plugging this rubbish because our environment isn't going to take it.
Yeah, believe it or not, there's a suggestion in France that they're actually going to stop Black Friday. There's going to be an outright rule to stop it.
It isn't even an event that gets anyone any bargains. So I kind of actually completely get that. I mean, I would understand if everyone got something amazing on Black Friday and they were saving loads of money, and in the long run it would mean that it's good for our economy, then great. But if it isn't actually even providing any discounts, what the hell is the point of it? It's just making things worse.
Out there. And the fact is that it's close to Christmas, and that's why we've adopted it. We like it because it's at a time where we're spending more than we normally do throughout the year. But it is buyer beware. It is a case of actually, do we need it? And it is a case of actually trying not to let emotion get in the way of rational. Actually, all we do is clear things out. There's so many stats I could, share at you. How many clothes are hanging with tags on in your wardrobe? How much stuff that, like the gym equipment, is never used in households across the UK. And yet we've got...
Oh, my ski machine is the most beautiful ornament in my house. It's beautiful. It's like a piece of modern art because it's never been used.
It's spotless. Yeah. But this is it. We perhaps need to get more educational messages out via the retailer. And I think that's exactly linked into the backstory. If we're just going to sell bags instead of giving a bag away for free, but we don't give anything in terms of education or reminder at that point, then actually we're just feeding into the frenzy.
Let's discuss as well this story about the number of plastic bags that we're using, and the fact that these bags for life, apparently 1.5 billion we've used over the last 12 months. I mean, that ain't a bag for life. That's a new bag every week, it sounds like. Do you think that retailers need to be forced to take more drastic action? Why do people seem to believe that just charging more for plastic is going to solve this?
It's not, particularly because it's not enough. The fact is, if you're out and about, are you going to remember, of all the things in life and life kind of skills that you need to deliver as a parent, as a family member, as a worker, going to think, yeah, I know, I'll get my plastic bags, fold them up and take them out with me that morning? You're just not going to be that disciplined because it's 5 pence, 10 pence. It's not enough to create that kind of impact in you.
If you know you're going to the supermarket, then great. I know to go to my cupboard and get a few bags out. But so often you stop at the shops on your way home from work, or, you just pop in and you're not expecting to. And then what are you supposed to do? You have to buy a bag for life. I've got so many bags for life in the cupboard at home. And like I say, I keep pushing this idea that, I don't know, maybe you have to buy a £5 Hessian bag. And when you go back, you can take it back to the shop and give it back to them, and you get £4.50 back. And they launder that bag. They've got 1,000 of them on standby, all lovely and laundered and clean. And then, like I say, if you forget to bring any bags, and unfortunately, if that means you need 5, well, then you need to leave a £25 deposit. But you'll get sort of £22 of that back when you return them.
Charging at that level is going to make change. Also, government will make change and put more pressure on retailers. But charging a small amount that consumers just see as actually not that expensive, not that much to make me make a change, is not going to make the difference we need to see. And that's what we've seen in these figures here. It's really concerning. It's really concerning that people like you have got bags and bags in a cupboard at home, and you're busy and you don't have that time to get prepared, get on top of it. And whilst figures show that we are more responsible and we're more ethical and we are more in in tune with the environment and everything it needs. Unfortunately, our busy lives supersede that, and they actually make it very difficult for us to make the changes we need to.
Kate, retail expert, Kate Hardcastle, we're going to hold on to you if that's all right, because we've got some calls coming in on this. People are really passionate and want to speak about this this evening, to tell us what it is you would do to solve this problem, how you would stop us using so many of these bags for life. Is there another solution to this? And also, again, how much of this actually affects how you're going to vote? I mean, do you really look at the environmental policies of the big parties? Or, like me, do you think, oh, it's great that they've got some environmental policies? Don't know if I believe any of them, but isn't it sweet? 0344 499 1000 if you'd like to join the conversation on that one. We'll get to some of your calls on this in just a moment. And then coming up from 5 o'clock, we'll talk more about political scrutiny as well, and we'll get the latest polling as well on the general election. Of course, it's changing every day, so we'll bring you that as well. All of that here on Drive on Talk Radio. Still joined live in the studio by the retail expert Kate Hardcastle. Kate, we're going to get to some of the calls on plastic, because of course we've been talking about how Black Friday sort of can be reconciled with climate change, because of course, you know, it's causing us all to buy stuff that perhaps we don't really need, and stuff to be manufactured that we don't really need. But also, if you're just joining us, we're discussing as well the 1.5 billion bags for life we used in the last 12 months. It's an absolutely staggering number of carrier bags that we've been using, and of course it was all supposed to be in the context of us using less plastic. But as suspected, all that's really happening is we're just paying more. Let's go to the New Forest and talk to Ryan. Evening to you, Ryan.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. So, how do you think we can solve this problem of all this plastic we're still consuming?
Well, I believe the only sort of way to do it is to make packaging a non-profit, by law, a non-profit entity. I know you get products from abroad and things like that, but I mean, if someone was to turn around to then say, in the current situation that we're in, well, if we have to change our packaging, we can't put out our products, well, then tough, then find something else to do. Because, I mean, the avenues always close. It tends to be that whenever a government or anyone wants to change the situation, and then all of a sudden whole trades disappear and whole ways of life, you know, so you're not going to get someone pushing a ferry with a stick anymore because their engine's bloody been invented. So, you know, all these things have to move on at a certain point. Maybe sometimes, you know, they have to just be a natural consequence. And I really don't feel that's a good argument. That just it wouldn't be profitable if we didn't. Well, then.
What do you think? Do you think that there should be some sort of, I mean, I don't know how realistic that could be, but do you think that there's an argument that there could be some sort of ban on making a profit from plastic?
I mean, there's £1 billion worth of industry saying absolutely not, that's not going to happen anytime soon. But we can certainly make it more ethical and environmental. So I was with a packaging supplier a few weeks ago who were telling me that actually they can make the same packaging, the same plastic, the same purpose, but by using air bubbles within the plastic. I know this sounds a bit techy and geeky, but bear with me. Those air bubbles actually mean there's less plastic used. So if we actually started to put some legislation in force around more environmental ethical packaging, it's going to be a start, and step change is normally the way things get done.
Why isn't there a fully biodegradable, recyclable plastic?
I think it's all in development. I think also the developments tend to happen when there's cash in it. And if people make it more of an incentive, I think people will find solutions sooner.
And that's why I actually really, although I get the principle behind what they do, I really don't understand Extinction Rebellion and their absolute hatred of capitalism. Because absolutely 100% they are correct that capitalism has got us into this mess. But the person who invents that fully biodegradable plastic that is completely environmentally friendly to create will be a billionaire. The financial incentive for someone to come up with that's capitalism. So capitalism got us into this mess.
Money talks.
But it's going to be capitalism that gets us out of it.
Absolutely, money talks. And also that money can also be in terms of the fines and the things we put in place to make people change their behaviour and think twice, because nothing makes behaviour change as much as actually fining and making it very sore for people to use that same route.
OK, Ryan, thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Vernon quickly in Worcester. Hi there, Vernon.
The famous words, Extinction Rebellion.
Oh, right, yes, because you've called about them, haven't you? What did you want to say about Extinction Rebellion and plastics and the like?
as a businessman, I find their actions preposterous. The millions and the billions and the inconvenience they've caused to the City of London, I've had a belly full of it. And at the moment, I have not one jot of an interest about the environment as it stands. For me, there is a process that's involved. As you know, Cristo, I've spoken to you lots of times on one of those terrible Brexiteers that voted 3 years ago, 17.4 million, and I want to get it done. And there are ways and means. This is a democracy. You do things in the right way, and Extinction Rebellion have got it completely wrong. Completely wrong.
Well, I mean, in fairness, do you not think that protesting and pressure was the very thing that got us the Brexit referendum that you wanted? I mean, were you complaining at the time that there were pressure groups and people campaigning who weren't elected for us to leave the European Union, Vernon?
For me, I've wanted to leave the European Union for a long time.
So you're not against protesting in general, as you were just saying, you're just against protesting when you don't agree with it?
No. Chris, don't put words into my mouth.
Well, you just said that you don't think that unelected people like Extinction Rebellion, that you don't believe that they should be sort of protesting and telling us to do all this stuff.
The way they do it. No, it's the way they do it. They brought London to a standstill for a huge amount of time. They recklessly wanted to bring Heathrow to a standstill, Gatwick Airport. That is not how you do it. That's a fact.
Is climate of interest to you in this election? Will you be voting based on any of that?
Sorry? I'm voting on the fact that the economy, in my opinion, the economy is the number one most important thing. And for me, if you want a strong economy, you vote Tory. If you want no economy, you vote Labour.
All right, Vernon. And of course, Liberal Democrats will say that they've got £50 billion that they can put into the economy. And of course, the Greens say that they've got all sorts of ways in which they can stimulate the economy through their climate plans. And of course, UKIP and the Brexit Party, well, obviously their economic plans all go around us leaving the EU. Vernon, we've got to leave it there. Kate Hardcastle, retail expert, thank you for talking to us this evening here on Talk Radio. Coming up, we'll bring you the latest